Hello, everyone, and welcome to ESPN FC Live and a happy transfer deadline day to all who celebrate, mainly us. We have definitely been busy keeping up to date on all of the potential transfers that are happening. Now I've got Dawson, James Olley, and Mark Ogden here with me. Guys, let's get right into it. And probably with the biggest one that I think had all our jaws dropping, and that was Mo Salah to Al Ittihad, potentially Al Ittihad, of course, bidding a whopping £150 million for Salah. Liverpool, of course, rejecting that, which is a pretty big statement. But Augie, let's start with you on this one. It was something that Liverpool had to do, surely, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Liverpool have been expecting this. They've known that Al Ittihad are interested in Salah, but until today they hadn't had a bid, and they were saying, look, until we've had a bid, we can't reject it. And they've had that bid, they've rejected it. It's a massive bid. And the issue that Liverpool have got right now is that the Saudi transfer window doesn't actually close until next week. There's a bit of confusion. It's September the 7th in terms of the Saudi Pro League, but there's a second deadline later in the month. So whichever one you stick to, Saudi clubs can still sign players from European league. So Liverpool are a little bit concerned about that. There's a suspicion that Al Ittihad might come back with the second bid. At some point, the bid's going to be too big to turn down. But I do think that, Jurgen Klopp's made it clear he doesn't want Salah to go. And you can see why, because he's their best player. But, the reality is he's 31 years old. He's got 2 years left in his contract. And I think, he's from Egypt. He's a Muslim. Arabic's his mother tongue. There's a lot of reasons why a move to Saudi Arabia would appeal to Mo Salah, away from even the financial side of it. And he's also achieved everything he could want to achieve at Liverpool. He's won the Premier League. He's won the Champions League. So I do think that this isn't going to go away. It's a case of whether it comes back next week or whether it comes back in January or at the end of the season. But I think by this time next year, Mo Salah will have left Liverpool. But it's a case of how long they can keep him at the club. But it is a massive, massive amount of money to turn down.
Rob, what are your thoughts on this? Because like we said, I mean, it wouldn't be a transfer window without Mo Salah being linked away from Liverpool. And this is a lot of money to turn down, even though this is Liverpool as well. And we know how much Salah does have a great relationship with his current club. But again, if they're starting at £150 million, and as Augie said, it feels like it's just a matter of time, doesn't it?
I mean, it's an interesting one because I'm sure that Liverpool won't say this publicly, but if they're looking at an offer of £150 million for a 31-year-old, that's got to be very, very tempting, because £150 million is enough to revamp quite a large section of your squad. The problem that Liverpool have got with the offer coming on deadline day is you've got no time to replace Mo Salah. So if you were to accept the bid for Salah today, you're basically writing off your season, because Mark's right. Even at 31, Mo Salah is by far Liverpool's best player, and if Liverpool are going to go and get back in the Champions League places or even challenge for the title, it's going to be because Mo Salah has a great season. So I can understand why Liverpool have turned it down. It doesn't give them any time at all to bring in a replacement. But there will be people at Liverpool looking at that offer and thinking that is very, very tempting.
Tempting indeed. It takes a lot to turn down that amount of money, but I suppose it's not a surprise at all, given the money that we know is floating around in the Saudi Pro League. James, what's your thoughts on this? Do you feel like it's just a matter of time, or like what Augie said, probably by the end of next year or next year's transfer window, we will see Mo Salah elsewhere?
Well, I like the guys have said, I don't really understand why the Saudis have left it this late to make the bid. If you're going to try and prize away Liverpool's best player, why would you leave it to the final day of a window where they can't get anyone in? I mean, everyone's talking about whether they might come back today or whether there might be another improved offer. Forget it. There's no point in them accepting it now. They're not going to be able to spend anything like that kind of money in the next 6 hours. So I really don't understand, if this was the play all along, in terms of trying to convince Liverpool to sell, why would Liverpool sell when they can't then get a replacement? Surely this would have been better done 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, a couple of months ago even. And Liverpool could have tried to get their heads around the idea of having to replace Mo Salah. I think the other thing that, is beyond the money here is the fact that Jurgen Klopp is talking about Liverpool reloaded, LFC 2.0, all this stuff. And obviously that is primarily around the midfield rebuild. I think he wants the settled forward line to be as sort of undisrupted as possible, and so he's got to bed in this completely new midfield. If you're then talking about ripping out the best player that Liverpool have had, arguably in their history, but certainly in the last 5 years, 10 years, maybe even further, you're introducing another uncertain element to a squad that is desperately trying to catch Manchester City and is already trying to sort of learn the new ways of playing and bed in all these new players. So just from Liverpool's point of view, I just don't see why they would sell now, why they would sell whenever this window does end officially for the Saudi Pro League, this is something they'll have to look at. And let's be honest, they probably wouldn't even be able to spend that money in January. So this is, I think, something they'll have to look at next summer. You'd expect, given how serious the Saudis have been to this point, that they will come back again next summer if this does drag on that far. And the only other point I'd make about this is we keep reporting, we keep being told, we keep hearing from various places that somebody is encouraging the Saudis that this deal can be done. Now, that isn't going to be Liverpool. So if that is the case, then there is somebody close to Mo Salah saying, do you know what, he might consider this. And that is something that Liverpool have to address. If they're going to reject this offer now, and they are intent on keeping Mo Salah to the massive contract that he signed for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, however long they ultimately desire to keep him, they need to quieten that voice, because the longer the Saudis hear it, the more they're going to think, actually, do you know what, we might be able to get him out of the club.
Aki, let me pick your brain on what James just said there too. First of all, what do you think of why Ittihad would wait so long? Because as you said, Mo Salah absolutely fits the bill. He could be one of these marquee signings for the league, like Karim Benzema as well, given the fact that he is Muslim and he will be happily welcomed and settled there. Why do you think they waited so long for someone they clearly want badly?
Yeah, I don't know. There's no explanation, because it's not like they need to do a publicity stunt, because they've done that already by signing Karim Benzema. They don't need the PR because they've already got it. And it's, it's a real strange scenario. I mean, who knows? I mean, Jurgen Klopp's quite outspoken about Newcastle in the past 12 months and the Saudi ownership. Is it some sort of Saudi way to destabilise Liverpool because they've had a good run at it this summer with, Fabinho's left, Jordan Henderson's left. There's been speculation about Alisson Becker. Liverpool have had a real kind of turbulent summer thanks to Saudi Arabia. So is it a case of unsettling Mo Salah? Like James says, I'd imagine that there is an interest there. And why wouldn't there be? It'd be naive to think that Mo Salah isn't interested in moving to Saudi Arabia, because culturally and everything else, it fits Mo Salah. And also, let's be honest, that one of the people that we haven't heard from in this scenario is Mo Salah. He hasn't come out and said, I'm happy at Liverpool, I'm not interested in moving to Saudi Arabia. He's left it very kind of, left people guessing, but that's what modern day footballers do. But he does have an affinity with the Liverpool fans, and the Liverpool fans love him. And as James said, he's one of the iconic players, but he has said nothing. And it does suggest to me that he is certainly open to a move to Saudi Arabia, but not being quite prepared to come out and say it. But look, if Liverpool receive a bid next week that's approaching £200 million for Mo Salah, that is going to be really hard for the club to turn down. The runners of business, FSG, will be looking at the numbers thinking, we've missed out on the Champions League this season. They can recoup that in a blink of an eye. And are Liverpool going to challenge Man City for the title this year? Is anybody going to challenge Man City for the title? Maybe not. So it could be a free hit for Liverpool. It could be a free hit to let him go now, banish the speculation. They've still got some decent forwards. They've got Cody Gakpo, Darwin Nunes, Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota. They're not short of quality, but obviously it would be a massive statement if they let Mo Salah go, and it'd be a bad statement as well.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.